Kāti, kia huri ake ki tā tātou kaupapa tuatahi. Kei ngā ngutu o te hārake te kōhurutanga o ngā māhanga kāhui. Me te aha, hei tēnei wiki kō huki tonu nei, tīmata mai ai te mahi hou a tākuta Russell Wills, hei kai kōmihana tamariki. Anei a Carmen Pārahi.
Celeste Scott is clinging to the memory of her only granddaughter. Her life support was switched off last week and now the blame game has started.
It's 5 years since Chris and Crew Kahui died from violent and non-accidental head trauma.
If someone can seriously hurt or kill a child and no one is held accountable, that is just wrong. How can you see this kind of stuff without being angry sometimes?
Paediatrician Dr. Russell Wills is a man on a mission to banish child abuse and neglect in New Zealand. He's so committed to his small patients, he refused to give up his clinic work in Hastings when he took on the 5-year commissioner's job.
I guess the bulk of the kids I see as outpatients are kids from the most poor, the most vulnerable families. A lot of kids with their child, youth and family involvement where they've got major problems with their behaviour and abuse and neglect, and work within teams to help those families and those kids, and we've been pretty successful. Actually, I think we've transformed some kids' lives, which I'm very proud of.
But it hasn't all been successful.
A 9-month-old baby is in Hawke's Bay Hospital after a domestic dispute.
Children continue to be abused, neglected and killed in Hawke's Bay.
It's always nice to see progress happen faster, isn't it? But the fact is that this is really difficult work. You know, this is difficult mahi. One of the big culture changes of this has been an acceptance within health that child protection and domestic violence are our core business. And these are fundamental skills that we need to have. That's a big change.
The change came about because a 4-year-old was murdered. James Whakaruru was killed after suffering long-term torture by his stepfather, abuse many services were aware of. In response, Dr. Wills helped develop a regional family violence prevention program, training 1,500 DHB staff to see and deal with possible child abuse. It's being rolled out in every DHB across the country.
The rate of admission to hospital in Hawke's Bay with a non-accidental injury has fallen by 2/3 over the course of this program. I mean, that's amazing. You know, it's been relatively steady across the rest of the country. There will be a fall in non-accidental injury admissions over time as this program grows within health. And if we can tighten those connections between other services, those rates will fall even further.
Of all children killed by caregivers or parents, half aren't known to any services. There are families who avoid using them. Dr. Wills' mission is to speak up for the victims, and he's backing an amendment to the Crimes Act to bring justice for them.
If a child is seriously hurt or died, somebody should be accountable for that. So if a family does that currently, there's no legal redress. There's nothing the police or courts can do. So, and this happened, for example, in the Kahui case. In the UK, there's a charge of failure to protect. And so if a family does close ranks in that way, the whole family can be charged with failure to protect the child. And that holds the whole family accountable, which is the right thing. It also means the family might have second thoughts about what they do. You know, either we all go to jail or someone's held accountable.
Most will probably agree with this stance, but may not like his 5-year plan to get rid of universal entitlements.
That means we need to disinvest in things that don't work. And we need to identify those in a systematic way. And we need to stop doing those things.
He wants government funding to go directly to the poor and intensive services for under 5-year-olds. Those who can should be made to pay for their health care.
Do you think New Zealanders will be ready to give up free medical care just to help the poor in New Zealand?
I don't think it's okay that we live in a country where children arrive at school because of their poverty, because of their vulnerability, without having their basic needs met. I don't think anybody thinks that that's okay.
But New Zealanders may see this as, oh, here we go again, we're shifting money to pay for Māori and Pacific Island kids. They already get lots of money for education and everything else.
Yeah, I think this whole idea that New Zealanders are racist, I think that's wrong. I think most New Zealanders are colourblind. I think most New Zealanders care about vulnerable children, full stop. And they want their tax dollars to go into things that work.
Dr Wills says evidence shows the biggest bang for buck is spent on 0 to 5-year-olds and poor, vulnerable children.
It's true that abuse and neglect are more common in Māori and Pacific families. It's true that there are higher rates of non-accidental injury in Māori and Pacific families. When you take the effect of poverty out of that, the effect of ethnicity almost disappears.
This is the Incubator program, another Wills initiative in Hawke's Bay where teenagers are encouraged into a health career. He's made it clear to schools they're targeting Māori and Pacific Island students.
Stand clear.
Some people get a bit upset about using race-based programs. What's your feelings about that?
I think we've got to be honest about the coalface, day-to-day realities of the clinical world, and that is that we've got high numbers of Māori and Pacific patients, in paediatrics in particular. It's huge numbers, and we just have to get more Māori and Pacific into health careers. So we just need to be, I guess, guided by what our experience every day tells us.
Amongst 34 countries in the OECD, New Zealand has one of the highest rates of child poverty and lowest investment in the first 5 years of life. So Dr Russell Wills will start his new job on Monday on a very clear mission.
We need to invest it in the kids who've got the most gain to be had, and that is poor kids.